unnecessary intro song to totally waste your time.
So the debate rages on X and elsewhere about immigration. Who deserves to come to America and who should stay the hell out? But one thing that I think is missing from the conversation is, you have two sides. You have the Ben Shapiro type side that America is a set of ideas, and then you've got the blood and soil people. No, we're the people that were here, except for the Native Americans, the European settlers, the ones who conquered America. I just watched this Sam Hyde thing, which if you haven't seen, you should look it up. It's really good. He spends 48 minutes just kind of monologuing a message to Elon Musk. And, it's really emotional. And I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. But certain parts of it reminded me of leftism, and it did kind of remind me, you're getting these people talking about the woke right. And of course, many people on the right are saying, that's stupid. There's no such thing as woke right. And it may be stupid, but I get what it means. It's like when you go fully around the block and suddenly you care about everything that the left cares about, which is race, and hierarchy and power. So, I don't know. I don't even know if I'd call it the woke right. I would just say you've got people that care about classes, you've got collectivists, and you've got individualists. And those two groups, well, are individualists a group? They're going to be at odds. So anyway, so I kind of get where those guys are coming from when they say the woke right. In so much as they're just saying, you're not as much about merit either. You want class treatment. You want a certain class treated certain ways. But anyway, I don't want to get back into the H-1B debate and the replacement debate. But if we want to talk about America, I said in the last recording that I'm an immigrant, that I moved here when I was 16 days old. And, because my parents moved here, obviously. But that's not exactly true, because just a few generations before that, I think just maybe even, maybe one generation, my ancestors went from America to settle Canada. So they were sent north by the Mormons. See, my family goes back. My lineage, lineage is not a thing that I care that much about, but it's kind of fun, like a game. But the oldest standing property in the United States, the oldest non-native built structure, belonged to an ancestor of mine, Fairbanks. It's a Fairbanks house in Connecticut. Like it was built in, I don't know, 1600s or some shit. I drove past it. Weirdly, I accidentally drove past it when I went back east on this road trip in a VW Bug with my roommate and some other guy. One of the weirdest trips of my life, driving all the way back east in a little Bug with a rusted out floor in a rainstorm that followed us the whole way. Just there was a lake inside of the bug. Anyway, but when we got to Connecticut, I was going, my family, the oldest structure in America is somewhere around here, and it belonged to my great, great, great whatever, Fairbanks. Can't remember his first name. Jonathan Fairbanks, something like that. But, and we passed it. It was like right there on the road, right as I was thinking about it. Weirdest thing. So anyway, yeah, American the whole way through. Earliest settlers walking across the plains, part of the first American religion, which is Mormonism. Did you know that? Did you know that Mormonism is the first real major American religion? Bet you didn't think about that, did you? But so yeah, we're super American. Even before, we're so American we went and settled Canada. Let's put it that way. We went and colonized Canada. We, my ancestors who I never met. But there is something about, what is it about a person that makes them American, And I was saying to somebody, I watched that Sam Hyde video, and I've been watching the conversation and America first. And I've been thinking, for the last 6 years, or even the last 6 years, just ever since there's all this woke nonsense, all the Marxists and the communists have been taking hold, and I see the right wing waving the flags, and sometimes I feel like, gosh, am I patriotic? Because to say I love America now, do I love America now? Or do I love America, what it can be and what it's supposed to be according to the founders and the founding principles and the culture that was here for so long? I like that old stuff. I'm not so sure I like all the new stuff. Because by saying I love America now, it's kind of saying I love all the left-wing nonsense, and I don't. And kind of when you're waving the flag, you're waving that flag too, even though those people don't want to wave it, Very telling that the left, the only time you ever see a leftist wearing an American flag is if they're trying to trick you into believing that they share some of your values, which they rarely do. But anyway, so the whole H-1B visa conversation comes down to, we want to bring in hard workers and the best of the best and stuff, and it turns out that's not really what's happening. It's just cheap labor, blah, blah, blah. But again, I'm belaboring the point, or delaying it. The part that's missing from the conversation is the phenomena of the American born abroad. Well, that's stupid, Merkley. No, it's not. You know what I'm talking about. You know it when you see it. The person that moves from some other country and they know more about American culture, they know more about the government, they know about the people with the American dream, the real American dream, You see so many Americans here that don't know the first thing. They don't know anything about civics. They don't know anything about their own government. They've been indoctrinated. They're kind of stupid. They're super entitled. Communists and Marxists and leftists, and those types of people. But then you see foreigners that come in with a nickel in their pocket, but they have the American dream and the belief that they can do something. And I go, but is that the American spirit? And so, these guys, a lot of these some of the MAGA people seem to have kind of swapped with that. Who was that guy that sang that song in the forest? The redheaded dude that sounded like he was singing a leftist kind of anthem, north of Richmond. The rich men north of Richmond. And it kind of sounded like a Woody Guthrie song. I'm thinking, okay, is this a switch? You know? Is that the American dream? Complaining? Is complaining the American dream? Or is getting to work and believing you can do something and working hard? You know, that American spirit. And I know which one I prefer. When I see somebody doing that, and I'm not talking about people who just come over with their Asian values or whatever, helicopter parent, tiger mom. I'm not talking about that. There might be something related to that, but there kind of feels like there's no assimilation. It's kind of, there's a difference between people who come and want to extract as much as they can from America based on this American dream. In other words, there's opportunity here, but the idea is to come and extract from America and take it abroad or send it abroad or hoard it or portion it off for just this culture. You know what I mean? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people that land on American soil already wearing an American flag, the people that have felt like they were American all the time. And there are a lot of people like that around the world. I know because I've met a lot of them. And I think, yeah, you're more American. Like sometimes when, for example, I've lived in San Francisco for almost 30 years. And back in my drinking days, my socializing days, I would take cabs before Uber, you know. And the cab drivers were almost always foreigners. But many times I always took up conversation with the cab drivers and interview them and talk about, you know, I wanted to find out where they're from. I always played a game if I could guess their accent. I was surprisingly good at it, by the way. But when I got to talking to them, it was like my own little way of getting away from San Francisco and back into America. Can you believe it? But that's where I would be able to find people who had my values, more conservative values, American values, you know, especially like Vietnamese, former Vietnamese people who escaped communism, or Cubans, or you name it. The conversations I would have with cab drivers would be the only times I could talk about conservative type things. You know, this is kind of before Donald Trump, but you know what I mean? It's just like there is this American spirit that follows people around that, whether it's bullshit or whatever, the American dream, the American spirit of being an entrepreneur, going your own way, it doesn't come with all the immigrants, obviously, but with some of them, it certainly does. I've met many, this is where I kind of get what Elon was saying, because he's an immigrant, but also kind of not. Canada to South Africa to here, you know, with I think his mother's American. So it's not like he's this immigrant, you know. Anyway, so I kind of get what he's saying. And I get what a lot of people are saying because, you know, even though my history goes way back to the very beginning of the white settlers, you know, Plymouth Rock type style, it's still, I mean, you can't have the conversation without one of my best friends growing up, Navajo, and he's certainly, I mean, he was born in America, raised in he's my age, so we're the exact same age. So we grew up in the exact same culture. It's not like, his culture started in 1967, so did mine. But, he had that background of Native American. I had the background of, Canadian and all that other nonsense. But, the idea that you can just gloss over, this is another thing that the leftists may make a good point. It's just like, how do you discover a land that's already populated? You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to diss American stuff, but at a certain point, you really do have to look at what does it mean to be American? And the people that, for me, it all comes from, not all of it, but I mean, it comes from a mixture. It comes from the concept described in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. All men are created equal. Keep the government as small as you possibly can. God-given rights. Shall not infringe. Independence. Do you want to live independently? Do you want to cherish freedom? Well, you look left and right. Most Americans I know in San Francisco, they didn't give a fuck about freedom. They don't give a shit about it. Seatbelt laws, helmet laws, this laws, that laws, can't drink this law, can't eat that law, mask up, inject yourself. Just these people, I look at San Francisco and I go, where is the American spirit here? I don't see it. Hell, you wear an American flag here and everybody looks at you with a side eye, And we're on American soil. And a lot of the people here in San Francisco are transplants from the Midwest. So it's not like everybody here was born abroad. No, that's not the case. We're talking about tons of people that were born here and have stupid leftist attitudes and ideas that have nothing to do with the founding fathers. These people are tipping over statues. And I'm not saying that I fucking love statues and shit like that. I really don't care. I'm not romantic about stuff like that, idol worshiping or anything like that. But yeah, you have to, if you're not paying attention to the ideas and the spiritual nature of being an American, and you're only like talking about white, see, now I sound like a fucking leftist, but if you boil it down, white, we need things for white people, white this, white, it's just like, how do you not sound the same as the leftists talking about brown, Asian, black? To me, it's just like, if the idea is that, well, because I don't know. I'm completely willing to entertain the idea that races might be different. Hell, I see the different breeds of dogs, and I see different breeds of birds, and I see what's different about them. So I'm not going to reject the idea that races might be functionally different in the way that they think or approach the world, but I don't want to run the world in that exact way, because I look at my fellow white man and I don't think, oh, I have so much in common with you. Hell, I don't even have much in common with most of my family. They're all white people from Utah, But I do have things in common with people who embrace these higher principles, of freedom, autonomy, non-tyranny, you know? That's what's important to me. Do I want to turn America into a place where I have to hang out with just a bunch of white people talking about whiteness and Europeanness and all that stuff? It's just like, it's interesting, but not that interesting. It's not that interesting to me. And not to mention the idea that, you know, I don't want to hang out with a bunch of people that want to racial purity, we got to save the white people. Or I want to hang out with them as much as I want to hang out with people that want to save the black people or save the brown people or save the Jews. I find those people not fun. You know, I argue with one of my Jewish friends all the time because she's so obsessed with Jewishness, you know. It's boring. I mean, who wants to hang out with somebody that's like that? That to me is just like, I can't imagine a more boring conversation than, you know, and not to mention that I'll be dead and offspring don't care about what color they are, you know. The way I see nature crossbreeding as a way to improve, you know, and you'll get racialists saying, no, if you do this, then your IQ goes lower, blah. And they ascribe all these values like IQ is the only thing. I've gone on and on about that. I go, yeah, but if I'm going to pick good looks or IQ, which one do I want? Let's just say I have two things I can choose. You can either have a high IQ or you can be super beautiful. That's a tough choice. But I'm leaning towards being totally fucking handsome. You know, life is easy for handsome people. If you're really beautiful, you don't even have to be smart or funny. You know, you barely even need to have any survival skills. Hell, you know what I mean? It's just like, really, you're going to value IQ that much? See, I think nature doesn't want things to be. You don't want to be too smart for your own good. You know, you look at high IQ, by the way, I get into this discussion all the time. People that allegedly have high IQs, like Ashkenazis, allegedly, I don't know if it's true or not, it might be just a total lie. But then also, what's this weird thing what's another stereotype of Ashkenazis? You know? They're nervous, hypochondriac, you know? Seeing the shrink all the time, worried. There's diminishing returns with everything, you know? You don't want to be too hot, because if you're too hot, then you got too much attention, you know? You can't trust anybody. There's trade-offs with everything. So it's just like, I'm not convinced that, I think nature, you know, basically, your wiener is going to tell you what's going on. You know, nature's more in control. You know, for a freckled, skinny, pale kid that gets burned when he goes out in the sun, I notice a lot of us gingers end up with darker spouses and mates. We tend to breed, not always, you know. Sometimes you get two gingers to get married and they have a bunch of other gingers that are transparent. But oftentimes, and I think that's nature just kind of, well, maybe it's not such a good idea to have the sun burn you as soon as you walk out of the house. You know, maybe some melanin might do some good. And I don't know. In my opinion, when I see mixed race kids, kind of beautiful. Brazil. It works both ways, though, by the way. I lived in Brazil for 2 years. And Brazil has the most beautiful people and the most ugly people. Talk about balance. And Brazil, by the way, is the real melting pot. America gets called the melting pot. But Brazil, they are actually melting. They are all interbreeding, and you can see it. But anyway, it's about values for me. All that other stuff sounds like just weird. It's just weird. That stuff's weird. It's obsessive. It's strange. People that are obsessed with black power, viva la raza, white power, Jewish supremacy, Zionism. It's all fucking identitarianism, and I don't like it. It's boring, even if it might be true. I'm totally willing to accept that they might be right. They might be right. The collectivists might be right. Maybe it is best for every race to stay on their own. We see races just kind of self-segregating anyway. Maybe, and I'm not trying to force anybody to integrate. That's the stupidest thing in the world. But for me, the principles that I like the most are, when I like somebody, it's because they're funny, they have a good ideas, and they embody American spirit. All that shit. The American shit. Not the white shit and the Christian shit. Those things come in there a little bit. Yeah, fine. But yeah, people, Americans. And I think Americans are born everywhere. That's what I think is cool about America. At its best, we invite the best of the best to come over and continue with this team. That's what we got to try to save. We got to save the concepts. I know these blood and soil guys don't like that, but we do have to say, if America is to survive, the principles must survive. Not just a bunch of white people. If you just say, oh, it's just white Americans, European/Americans. Well, half of those people are fucking nutso San Francisco liberals. I don't give a shit I don't want their ideas to survive. I want their ideas to be flushed down the toilet. I don't want to import a bunch of Latin American communists. No. But if the conservatives with good values want to come from Latin America, yeah. I want to be around people that share my values. Good values. Anyway, that's about all I need to say on that. Thanks for listening.